What's up, guys? OdraNoel here, and coming at you today with yeah, I can't speak today. What's up, everyone? OdraNoel here with episode 2 of my Building Cities series. And well, today I laid out some. I figured I'd do a video on basic overall planning on how to plan for a city and how to go about starting to build one, because I ran into a lot of problems when I was working on my city. You know, just simple little things that if I had thought a little bit about it beforehand, it would have saved me probably a lot of time and trouble. So I just tried to gather together some basic points and just basic concepts and ideas to keep in mind when going about building a city. So so let's just get right into that. I've laid out some sorry, some display modules here with some basic information, just stuff to keep in mind here. So we'll start off with this first guy here. What kind of city, first of all? And I could really think up of, I'm sure there's probably more, but just off the top of my head, I came up with 4 more or less overall designs for a city, and that would be, one is a domed city, like just a plate with a dome over it, which is this city. This is obviously it's round, and it's the eventual idea is to have a dome, a glass dome over it. So I've kind of outlined the whole dome here. And in case anyone's wondering, this is a circle with a radius of 226. So that would be about 500, a little over 500 in diameter. And the same thing with the dome. It's basically a sphere with a diameter of 226 in all, or an ellipsoid with 226 in all 3 of the axes. That'll give you a perfect circle of the right dimensions. And actually, if you want, you know what? Let's go ahead and show you guys that right now, what it would look like with the dome. Because that's something I'm kind of holding off from constructing at the moment, because I haven't gathered that much glass yet. I think I might have enough now, but I got to go out and gather a little bit more, and I haven't really tested out how it would be performance-wise. That's kind of one thing I'm kind of a little bit worried about the city, like how it's going to perform on most computers once it's really constructed. It's going to be obviously a rather large build. Like right now, it's already at about 427,000 blocks, and it's, I don't know, I'd say 10% complete. So we're still got a long way to go. So it's definitely going to reach the million block point and surpass that. By how much, I'm really not sure, but we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But that's something I'm kind of trying to keep in mind right now, performance-wise. But anyways, if you have performance issues with it, you can always just turn down your max view segments. So that should help performance-wise. The only downside to that is that obviously you won't be able to see the entire city all at once. But anyway, again, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Right now, let's go ahead and give you guys an idea of what this would look like with the dome over it. So we'll just make a sphere here, an ellipsoid with 226 in each of the dimensions. Let's set that up. And here we go, calculating. And there we go, we got our center mark there. So we just click there, and that gives us a nice outline. So that's basically what the city will look like. Let's get rid of the HUD. Oh, right, when we get rid of the HUD, it clears out every, okay. So this is what the city will look like with a dome. And it's actually quite roomy, honestly. It's actually a little bit roomier than I would have thought. I figured, you know, that once I put the dome, it would kind of make it feel a lot more cramped. But not quite so much. It's a pretty good size. Honestly, I feel like any smaller, and it would probably feel a bit more cramped. But I think it's gonna look pretty sweet once I get the dome over it. And yeah, so that's just to give you an idea of what that's gonna look like. Right now, it's kind of giving you a bit of a strobing effect because of so many little lines at such a distance. So yeah, but it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let's give you an outside look here. So like when you're coming in with a spaceship, to the city from a distance, this is what it would look like more or less. So obviously there wouldn't be that bottom part, right? Just from the top up. But yeah, pretty cool. Once that's glass, obviously you'll be able to see through it and you see all the little lights and buildings and stuff like that of the city. So that is the dome city. That's obviously, since it's the one I have, it's the one that I can show off here. But we'll go over the other three kinds of cities that I'd come up with, and I'm sure most of you guys have had similar ideas and stuff as well. Just kill that build helper, clear helper. There we go. So it was domed. Then Unimatrix, I'll probably throw up a picture now of the Unimatrix, the Borg Unimatrix of from Star Trek. Basically, that's a kind of city which would be a bunch of buildings and structures interconnected through bridges or some kind of connecting mechanism. Yeah, bridges, I guess, or rails or whatever. Just some method of people transferring from one building to another. So this would be more like a zero gravity type of city with, you know, impossible shapes that wouldn't really make sense in a gravity field. The dome city is going to have its own artificial gravity field, so it's kind of simulating like a planet, right? It's a dome over of a city simulating like a planet environment. But the Unimatrix complex would be more of like a space station, a cluster of buildings in space, all connected by bridges and stuff like that, in a more zero-G type of environment. So there you wouldn't have so much, like, at least you have, like, you know, domed areas and stuff like that, but it wouldn't really make sense to have, like, open-air parks and stuff like that. That makes more sense in a dome city, because you have the big overall dome enclosing the entire city. And that's going to go into play a little bit later here once we get down here to things specific to StarMade. Because, you know, obviously there's things that you may not have to deal with if you're making like a city in Minecraft or something like that. But this is more oriented towards specifically towards StarMade, because it is the best voxel game there is. Anyway, so that's Dome City. We got the Unimatrix, again, a series of interconnected buildings floating in space. And then we got Planetary. Planetary would be obviously a city built on a planet. Which honestly right now isn't the most practical, just simply due to lag, performance issues with planets at the moment, but that will be taken care of at some point. So that's definitely going to be one of your options, probably sooner rather than later. So that's definitely another thing to keep in mind. And then enclosed. Enclosed would be basically sort of like kind of like the idea of a dome city, but not so much with the dome shape. So this could be kind of basically any large enclosed area with a city built inside. So like say like during the station contest, I remember seeing somebody that was going to do like a large cube. I don't think they ever finished it because it was kind of a little bit off a little bit more than they could chew, which I sometimes feel like that with my city as well, because it's really, like, it doesn't seem like much, but once you start building, it's like, wow, it's a lot of surface area to cover with building. But anyway, they had made like this large hollow cube, and they were going to build like a city inside that. So that would be like an example of an enclosed city. It's not exactly a dome or whatever, but it's kind of like an enclosed structure with a city built inside. So that can be more amorphous. It doesn't have to be a cube or anything specific. Just kind of any, again, yeah, any enclosed structure, large enclosed area with a city inside. It can take any shape or anything like that. Now, I'm sure there's probably a few other kinds of cities and stuff like that you can think of, but those were the main 4 kinds of cities that I could come up with off the top of my head here. So that gives you an idea. Once you pick a kind of city that you want to make, it gives you an idea to go on to the next points here of what are you going to do with that kind of city. So so first of all, you have to also think up of city uses. You know, cities have can have a bunch of different uses, and you know, obviously cities can have multiple uses, or they can be more oriented towards one specific kind of uses. So these are just some the main kinds of uses that I could come up with for a city, and I put a little star next to the ones that apply to this city, to the island in the sky. So as you'll see, it basically covers virtually all of them except for military and mining. Like there is going to be a government section, but government is a little bit different than military. Like military is obviously more weapons oriented and stuff like that. So I do plan to have like a bit of a shipyard, some place that makes like ships and stuff like that. But that's still, to me, that I see that more as like industry, which is one of the ones on the list. So we got trading and commerce. That would be obviously, you know, shops and stuff like that, anywhere where you go to buy and sell stuff. So like for example, currently trade guild stations would cover that that subject, trading and commerce. Then we have entertainment, which is obviously going to be taken care of with all the casinos and stuff that we have around here. None of them have been I haven't made any casino interiors yet, but I will be doing that later. So that covers entertainment. Let's see here. Then we got government. Government's going to be this whole next sector here. So that's going to be like the main governing building, prison, secret research laboratories, and stuff like that. So that's going to be the government section that covers government. Then, of course, there's military. That would be a more obviously military oriented city where everything's more about just, you know, defenses, weapons, and all that kinds of stuff. Then we have residence, which again is being covered by all the buildings over here, like the square or blockier buildings are going to be residence. This guy over here is going to be residence. I'm going to make a few more residential tall skyscraper buildings here in this empty area. So that covers residence, basically just a place for civilians to live. Let's see here, we got residence. Industry, again, the industry is going to be covered by this this empty sector over here. I'm going to make factories and as I said, the things that make ships and mechs and all that stuff. So that covers industry. Science and research, which is going to be covered by the government sector here. There's going to be a few research laboratories, government research laboratories there. So that gives you a good excuse to make kind of more interesting shaped buildings, because, you know, obviously any science place is going to be full of nerds, obviously, and we all love nerds, and us nerds love some interesting building shapes. So that's just you know, when you see something really sleek and interesting, you think, oh, they probably do something interesting there. You know, they're probably not just making photocopies. So that gives you a good excuse for that. Science and research. And then finally, of course, mining. Mining, like a mining colony, a mining city. Usually mining cities makes more sense to make them a little bit more rugged, run down and stuff like that, you know. So that kind of ties in. Mining and industry also go good together. So that's not something that I'd really have much plans for in the city, but maybe I might add some sort of mining, something mining orientated to in the industry section, but I'm not too sure. We'll get there eventually. Right now, again, I'm going to finish these two sections here. So those are the city uses. So that gives you an idea of, you know, you just kind of mull it over a bit and figure out what you want your city to do. You know, it can have multiple uses, or be more oriented to one or two specific uses. Here I tried, since I had a large city, I tried to give it a lot of varied uses, so it really covers a lot of subjects. But obviously, it's always up to you, your city. You're gonna do whatever you want with it. So that gives you some idea of what to aim for. So now once you picked an idea of what kind of city and what use you want to give to the city, you can move on to build style. This is basically where you would consider, you know, what kind of building style you really want to do with things, with the city. So that would include materials. You know, you want to make it out of carved stone. Do you want a more basic city? Maybe you want to make like a more bronze or iron age type city, say maybe on a planet. That would be good for like a planetary city, maybe made all out of wood and very basic materials. So that's where you choose your materials. And then obviously with certain kinds of materials would come you know, choice of colors. So obviously in this city I have 4 different sections, and every section is going to have a different building material and colors. Obviously here I went crazy and just give me all the colors. So that was that. And we kind of toned that down a little bit here in the basic hull section. So you have materials, colors, building architecture type. That means basically what kind of buildings are you gonna have, you know, because you kind of want to have everything. Like a city usually looks better if it looks like it was made by the same architect or the same civilization or whatever. So if you have a bunch of random stuff that really doesn't go together, that's building architecture type. So like each section here is a different building architecture type. You know, like all this stuff is made of, you know, carved stone, and they follow certain rules, like you know, the checkerboard colors, all those kinds of things. You know, like all these buildings, they're all different, but they also have certain similarities. You know, it looks like it was made by the same guy. So that's basically building architecture type, to make things look varied but consistent. So that's obviously very important when making large scale construction like this. That, and then overall city cohesiveness. Basically, this ties into the next point here of have a grand plan, and then having some kind of like city center or nucleus or master building. That means basically don't just you know, say like in this case, make a dish and then just start plopping random buildings down wherever. Kind of plan it out a bit. You know, like what I did here is, you know, I made a large building here in the center. And then I divided the dish into 4 different sectors. So that's kind of overall like city cohesiveness. You know, it's not just a bunch of random buildings placed randomly on a dish. It's kind of divided into different subsectors and organized. Because yeah, you know, if you do it randomly, you might get a cool city, but it might look a little bit more chaotic. Like it's just cooler if it feels organized. That gives it just makes like traversing the city a little bit a little easier. You know, like when you're in here, you kind of like, once you kind of get a basic idea of the overall layout of the city, you can kind of, it's easier to say, you know, oh, I want to go to this section, you know, or I want to go over here to this section, like because yeah, it just makes it easier to navigate. It's just more pleasant, and it just gives you you'll end up with a better city basically if you really kind of think about it. You know, what you want to do and where you want to go with it. It gives you an overall more cohesive city. So the master building thing, like for example, that would be this central building here. It gives you kind of something that really stands out overall. When I first started, this was actually my tallest building. So, you know, I made this and then I gave it a long spire and stuff. And then I started building everything else, and everything else kind of ended up a little bit. It ended up not being as tall. Now the tallest thing is Clark's Tower with this garden on top. I don't know if I showed this off in the last video, but yeah, this is the like the super food court on top of Clark's Tower, which is now the tallest area in the game, or not in the game, in the city. That would be the tallest area here. This is the top of this tree. So yeah, that's having a, you know, every city, like every sector is also going to have its own master building. So we have a city master building for the overall city, and then a master building here in each sector. So this is obviously going to be the master building here. In this sector, eventually this tower thing here is going to be the master building of this area here. I'm not really too sure what I'm going to put on the top of this tower, but I'm guessing maybe a little mini dome or something like that, or maybe a large circular residence or something like that. I'll figure something out, but the idea is to put something big and cool on top of this tower here. So that's going to be the master building here. The government building here is obviously going to be the master building of this sector, and again, I haven't done anything here, but I will have some kind of master building or master factory in this area here. So yeah, that's overall city cohesiveness. Just kind of have a basic idea of kind of a skeletal structure to work off of, and build your city around that, like build your city around the master building and stuff like that. Then the next thing, roads and paths. Roads and paths are obviously a very important thing to have, because, you know, if you place a bunch of random buildings down and don't really have any roads connecting them, it doesn't make it look as civilized, I guess. Because it's usually like, you know, when you see roads and stuff like that, it kind of gives you an idea, you know, oh, I'll follow the road to the next building and stuff like that. Like in this case, I kind of scrunched everything up together. Like there isn't really much space in between the buildings and stuff like that. So it's just kind of like a more densely populated area. But obviously you can make things a bit more spaced out. You know, you can make like maybe a building here surrounded by a lot of these have a little bit of gardens. But, you know, if you want, you can have like very large gardens, very separated buildings with some roads going through. and just connecting the entrances of the buildings. So obviously that's just a matter of personal preference here. I've made something just a bit more densely populated here. But yeah, roads and paths is an important thing. It's really going to give your city a lot more, again, a more cohesive, well-built feel. So that's roads and paths, and then infrastructure, things like police, firefighters, power, government, food, residents, sewage systems, etc. That's something that I haven't really done so much yet. Like I don't have a fire. Well, I guess I do have I don't have fire thing, but I have a tiny police station up here from Clark's Tower originally, but I need to make a bigger one because these guys can't police the entire city. So I'm probably gonna put, like, in the government section, I'm gonna put police, fire, maybe a nice large hospital, like all those government amenities. That's gonna go in the government section here. Then what else did we have for infrastructure? Power. So that's I'm probably going to take care of the power thing in the industrial section. Have some kind of power plant there, something that looks like a large, maybe solar colony, solar panel colony, or something like that. Something that gives you the idea. Oh, this is where the power comes from. Residents, we got that taken care of. Government taken care of. Food taken care of. Sewage system is something that that I had the idea for the other day actually. I'm thinking what I'm going to do here is once the city is more completed, maybe I'll make like a kind of a sewage system down below here to make kind of like a basement kind of area, a down below area of the city. You know, like most cities usually have that you know, just kind of like the really grungy, dirty, nasty place, like under below where nobody, you know, kind of goes. And, you know, where you got all I think it would be a cool thing to have, just kind of like maybe 2 floors, like just 10 blocks down. Just have a whole under area of the city, you know, where no one really goes and stuff like that. And we could have a lot of really shady characters down here and stuff. So I was gonna have the idea was to have a sewage system, you know, like a bunch of tubes and stuff like that, going from each building, and then maybe to some kind of master processing plant area. So that would give the building the city a nice kind of underground area to explore. When you're exploring on foot, it would just add like a whole kind of underworld to the city. So that was kind of an idea that I had there for the sewage. Where are we? Let's see here. So that was sewage, and yeah, obviously there's a bunch of different, you know, infrastructure things that you guys can add. You know, adding infrastructure, even if it doesn't actually do anything game-wise, it's great for role-playing purposes, RP. And it's just going to give you more stuff to add to your city, and just going to give you an overall cooler city. So that's infrastructure. Let's see here. And then things specific to StarMade. So these are things that, you know, because most of these tips actually you can take, you can also apply them to, say, Minecraft or maybe any other voxel building game. You know, build a city with, you would use more or less these tips, but these things are specific to StarMade. One, atmosphere. Like right now there is no atmosphere system. Like, you know, Dave can just walk around space without a helmet and nothing will happen to him, but that won't be the case for very long. Eventually we will be getting some kind of atmospheric system where Dave where Dave will need a helmet to protect himself from the vacuum of space. So that means we're not sure how it's going to work, but, you know, I've been building my city with the idea that that's eventually going to happen. So that's why I did a dome, because you know, it would suck to maybe, you know, start working on a city, you know, make everything open air and stuff like that, and then eventually, boom, you know, we get the atmospheric system, and all of a sudden your city is in a you know, you can't really sit down at a restaurant here in a spacesuit, you know, because you can't really eat. So that just would kind of kill the immersion aspect of it. So always keep in mind that we will be getting an atmosphere system. Eventually flowing liquids. That means things like lava and water. I always built it under the assumption that they will eventually flow. So once it starts flowing, it won't like flow out and pour out anywhere or anything like that. Obviously, I'm sure when they do add that, they will, you know, let people know and add some kind of config option for that, because obviously a lot of people right now have used lava decoratively for, like, you know, their ship engines and stuff like that. So if, you know, if it were to suddenly start flowing in a certain update, you know, it would probably destroy a lot of people's creations and stuff. So that will be something that, you know, won't just come out of left field. They'll really give you a good heads up for that. But obviously something that I've been keeping in mind just in case, you know, so that's something to keep in mind. Eventually flowing liquids. Let's see here, spaceships and space docks, basically ship docks. So that's another thing specific to StarMade, because one of the great things about StarMade that really sets this game apart is the fact that you can make spaceships in it. How awesome is that? Not just, you know, pretty looking spaceships, but fully functional spaceships. Oh yeah, that's what StarMade's all about. So you obviously want to keep in mind some place to dock your ships, which is what I was going to do here. Like on the four corners here of where these main roads that radiate from the central building, you'll see that these four main roads here all end at the edges of the plates. I was going to put a large docking structure, or like a large dock on each of these four areas here. So a place, you know, where you can just kind of dock your ship and enter the city. So these are going to be like the main entrance, the four main entrances here. And as I had mentioned in the other, in my first episode, I do plan on turning this factory, which is currently a factory, probably turning this into also another kind of dock, and a large elevator system upwards to kind of give the city a more, so it's not just like a flat dish and a dome on top, you know, it's got like an under part too. So yeah, docks, that's something to keep in mind for StarMade, because StarMade is freaking awesome, and it lets you build spaceships. That is just amazing. So docks, and then last but not least, defenses. Defense is something that I have actually not taken into consideration when I had started this city. Right now, this bad boy unfortunately has 0 in terms of defenses. So that's something that I definitely got to work on. I'll probably make a lot of like turrets and stuff here on the under part, and maybe some on top of the dome and on the docks and stuff eventually. But right now I have 0 defenses on this guy. Luckily, it is my faction home base, so it is indestructible. And I am playing on single player, so and I believe I have enemy spawning turned off. Just because I was afraid that, you know, I'll be working on this and they come and like destroy all my work. So so this is kind of more like my single player survival, no enemies world, just to kind of, you know, go out, mine my stuff, because I don't like cheating in items, and just working on my little city here. So yeah, defenses. Defenses is obviously something very important for StarMade, you know, because if you're playing single player, you know, with enemies enabled, or on a multiplayer server and stuff like that, and you start a city, you know, it's going to be very important to be able to defend your city. So actually, defenses, depending on where you're building and how you're building and stuff like that, defenses might be actually one of the first things you want to start. I did it the opposite. I went totally for aesthetics and just visually pleasant. But yeah, defenses is definitely obviously a very important thing depending on your build style. So yeah, that pretty much brings us to the conclusion of this planning basics thing. I guess now maybe I can go over some last kind of architectural basics, something I didn't put here in any of the display modules. But yeah, with this thing, like with these things, it's going to give you a good idea of you know, how to go about building your city, what kind of city you want to build, and how you will go about building it. You know, this gives you kind of a rough idea, obviously very open-ended, and obviously up to you to utilize this information how you want. But hopefully this should help you get a better idea of how to build your city, and maybe you'll avoid some of the areas of difficulty that I encountered during construction. So last little thing here, I'll just go over just some basic rules that I've been following for constructing buildings. These are some rules that I actually laid down for myself a few years ago, before I found StarMade while I was playing in Minecraft. So these are rules that I've carried over from Minecraft that apply perfectly into StarMade. The most important one really being that buildings are always 4 blocks tall. Like for me, a story, what feels like a 1-story building, 2-story building, 3-story building, a story for me feels proper as if it's 4 blocks tall. So that means like whenever you'll see all these buildings here are every story is always 4 blocks. So we got from the floor 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the roof 1, 2, 3, 4, and then another floor. So every single building is all divided by 4 blocks. Like every story is 4 blocks. So that really gives you a good standard for building height, because one of the problems I had before when I used to make buildings, I never had any idea, you know, how tall should I make it? How tall should the roof be? So every building would kind of come out randomly, and you know, the roofs would be always uneven and stuff like that. So that kind of bothered me, and then I settled on this rule of every story being 4 blocks tall. So that gives you a good see we got the floor 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the roof on top. So every story is 4 blocks tall plus the roof. So that would actually be a total of 5 blocks. But 4 blocks of empty space in between each floor and roof. That gives you a good height for each floor. The floor doesn't, like the roof doesn't feel too low or too high. It feels like an actual story, like a 1-story building. That's something that's been very important. Simple rules that I've been following. You'll see everything is marked at 4 blocks, 4 blocks, 4 blocks. Every story is always 4 blocks. So that's something to like when you follow simple little rules like that, it will really help you get a more overall cohesive construction. Because like if I look out at like these building windows, they all line up. You know, each window lines up with the windows of the other buildings and stuff like that. So that gives you again overall city cohesiveness. That every building, even though they're all different, unique, and may have different materials and overall build styles, they all follow certain basic rules. And to me, that's the most important one. And with this one, obviously, you can have double high roofs, and double high roofs is like, for example, like this restaurant here. This one's double high, so this would be a total of 9 blocks tall, because again 4 plus 4 plus 1 for the floor. So we have, instead of floor, we just have it empty, but it uses that same dimensions, and that gives you a good double high roof as well. So when you want to have larger interiors, you can just, you know, again build with that following that area or that build style, that rule, and just leave out one of the floors. Just leave it empty, and you'll have a nice double high roof. So I did that over here in this guy as well. This guy's got a double high roof as well. So you'll see that the first floor is marked in black. Like all my floors, like every floor is always marked, because that also gives it a nice aesthetic feel. Like instead of, you know, the whole wall being gray and stuff like that, like everything's kind of marked. You'll see that here. You'll see that in all the buildings. They're all marked at the 5 block point. So yeah, that's overall city cohesiveness. Just simple little rules to keep in mind. And yeah, that's just for me, those simple little rules have really changed a lot. Those are things that took me a while to figure out, to be honest with you. They may seem rather simple or obvious to some, but to a lot of people, maybe, I'm sure, you know, that they might be just small little problems that you might run into that can really impede you a lot. Like that can, just a dumb little thing like that without keeping it in mind can really keep you from doing a lot of things. Well, all right, guys. This has been episode 2 of my Building Cities series. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I know I kind of ramble and stuff like that sometimes, go from one thing to the other. But, well, that's what there is. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Rate, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.